Bum, bum, bum. Give it a moment here to make sure it all kicks on correctly. Scott, thank you for sharing.
What am I sharing?
No, you already did.
Sorry.
All right, so we are officially live. I can see it, which is good. I mute there. Gonna hit a button to make sure it works. There we go. Let's see what's our delay here? 30 seconds. I actually don't know what the delay is from StreamYard. It's about 10 seconds. 10, 15 seconds. Not too bad. Okay. Yeah. All right. So welcome everyone to the Forbidden Mountain podcast. This is the Into the Unknown podcast. This is episode 2, and we have a very special guest with me right to my side over here. We have Liam and Aaron of the Illumiteers. I hope I said that right. I kept saying it over and over again today, and I'm just like, I don't know which one of these is correct. So we're just gonna try and hope we get it right.
You nailed it.
You got it right.
There we go. So welcome. Please, take yourself a moment here, introduce yourselves to the stream and to our community in case they don't know who you are. I think they do.
First off, really appreciate you having us here. When we saw your podcast start up a little while ago, we were super excited to see your perspective in the Lorcana space. We watch all your stuff, so to get the invite was great. So we appreciate it.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
As you said, I'm Liam.
And I'm Aaron.
We're the Illumiteers. We cover Lorcana, latest news, but we also specifically focus on the art and design of the game, artist interviews, art deep dives. We try very hard to build a community in our space around Lorcana and to bring the artists in and make them part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. One of the big things for us around Lorcana is I'm relatively new to TCGs, and Liam's a lifelong TCG player. And so being able to build a community around a game that has an incredible property and is looking like it's going to be a pretty spectacular game, we're really excited to blend these two environments and these two worlds together. So
I couldn't agree more. Well, before we get into it, Scott, welcome back. How are you doing this evening, sir? You look so much better this week. I don't know if anyone's noticed already, but he looks dashing.
It's the shirt. What can I say?
It's the shirt. Oh, totally. Am I the only one here that's at least somewhat repping the Disney IP? All right, I got an Obi-Wan shirt on. At least I'm trying here, guys. All right. You win.
Yep. They had nice dogs. They saw.
That's true. Yeah. They do. I do like me some Pooh Bear. So that works. It works. So the question, of course, is what are we here for today, guys? Well, this is once again the Into Known podcast, but we're gonna be talking about some stuff today. So we're gonna walk through it. And here's our topics for the podcast. So we have introductions, which we already skipped. We're done. We figured it out. It's no big deal. So we're going to go right into the why Lorcana, and then we're going to discuss organized play and local level at the local level and greater, characters you hope to see in Chapter 1, and a prediction of what they do. I wrote one down. I think I might surprise you guys. And then we have some closing thoughts. Scott has a really interesting question. I also added one as well. So let's get into it, right? And we're going to start, of course, with you guys because, I actually went back. Your first video was posted about 8 months ago, and
I am sorry you watched that.
Listen, I'm very adamant about the start before you're ready, right? So it's like you guys got out there, you did your thing, you're excited, which is great because that's the only way you get better, right? I tell everyone that I ever talk to, it's like 1% better every single time you record, every time you hit the button. Just always constantly work towards something that makes it better for you guys. So 8 months ago, you made a video about why you were excited for Disney Lorcana. So here we are 8 months later, many videos later, and you guys have already done some cool stuff within the Disney world as well, within the Disney Lorcana world. So tell me, guys, why Lorcana still now, even we're about 2 days or 2 months from release now. So why is Lorcana more exciting now to you maybe than it was 8 months ago?
If I take a first swing?
Yeah, go ahead.
So why Lorcana? It's an amazing question because, you're right. For the last 8 months or so, we've poured a solid part of our lives and emotions and time into this game and building this community. For us, games have added so much to our lives. They've given us communities wherever we moved. They're an excuse to sit down across from family members or friends to introduce them to a game, to interact in a way that you might not if you didn't have that game in front of you. And TCGs in particular are amazing at building communities. And not only building communities, but giving sometimes people who don't have another place to go, a place to belong. Local game stores for a lot of people are where their friends hang out. It's where they meet people and where they find a sense of belonging. So the thing that excites us about Disney Lorcana is this game is going to bring so many new gamers into gaming who have never touched a TCG before. It's going to get people to walk into game stores who have never walked into a game store before, because it comes with this built-in appeal, this built-in IP, this nostalgia that's going to hook people of all ages to give this game a try. And we're so excited to see the community that builds around this game. And we see it already. I have to give a shout out to some of our other Lorcana creators. I see Stephanie from Lorcana Illumiteers in the chat. And even before the game is launched, we've managed to build an amazing community in the Lorcana space. And it's just been wonderful.
Yeah, I mean, you can see in our tagline that one of the big things that we're really passionate about is community, and just echoing Liam. I mean, as I mentioned before, Liam was like a lifelong TCG player, played Magic when he was a kid. And about maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we moved up to Washington State. We're not there anymore. Mm-hmm. And we lived right down the street from this absolutely incredible LGS, or local game store. And that's really where Liam fell back in love with Magic again. And he would play Friday Night Magic there every single week. Gabby's Cards and Comics, if you're in the Olympia, Washington area, you should absolutely check it out. Gabby is incredible. It has built almost a community center around her LGS and gives back to the community throughout the year. And it really, again, made Liam fall back in love with TCGs, and really demonstrated to me not only the community that we can build with our friends and family around our kitchen table playing a board game, but also this incredible community within our greater community and in our town, and get to know people that we would have never met before. Right. And so partnering that sense of home and belonging that a lot of LGSs can create with this amazing Disney property, and people who might not touch a board game. One of my best friends is not into board games at all. She will tolerate us trying to get her in to play Villainous or something, but it's because it's Villainous. It's because it's Disney, and she wants to engage in these characters she grew up with and she loves in a new and unique way. And so I think that Lorcana is just really poised to be able to bring those two sides together. And I think that that's why we are so excited for this game.
Yeah, it's really funny. I wrote down my answer, and it was very close to the same thing. It's I grew up with these characters. I grew up, and now I'm a dad of 2 children, and yes, we watch the new Disney movies come out, but truthfully, my wife and me like them more than they do. But that's besides the point. But the point is it's really cool to take these characters that you love and enjoy, and now experience them in an entirely different direction, entirely different way. And this is just the very beginning. I mean, we already know there's 7 sets of this, in production, etc., that you're going to have the next 2.5 years already guaranteed of exploring or re-exploring and reimagining these characters, which is really cool. So, Scott, how about you? Why we didn't really get into this last week. So why Lorcana? Why is it really stuck out to you? And what are you excited about for the game?
But I actually, there was a time during COVID and all that where I didn't think I was ever going to play paper TCG ever again.
Facts.
Where I had basically said, no, it's all digital for me from now on. And it's really the strong IP, and I'm probably a little older than you guys, so I'm more of the 90s cartoons that into those movies. But for me, it's about a TCG that I think is just going to have staying power based on its IP and based on its community. So I have a lot of fear that I think this is going to go away pretty soon. So I mean, I've played a lot of games that some have lasted longer than others, and I didn't want to get my heart broken again, but I don't think that's happened here based on what I've seen so far. I don't have a lot of experience with the company, but I think that they've hired some good people. So I just have a lot of confidence in what they're doing and how they're doing it. I don't see a lot of early fears about missteps or anything like that. I think they're handling it pretty well. And I know they've done well with their properties and other equivalent Disney parts of the property with Villainous and things like that. So I have a lot of faith in the company and in the way that they're handling things. So I just have a lot of faith that it's going to continue. And I'm just looking for, another outlet for us to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't agree more.
Something you said about the, faith in the company. Dan, when you asked the question, you asked, why Lorcana then? And then you said, you asked us why still Lorcana.
Mm-hmm.
And I want to address that second part, because why still Lorcana? And it ties to something you said, Scott. We've been really fortunate on our content creator journey, so far, to have gotten to interact with the Ravensburger team several times, both in their office in Seattle and then at a couple conventions, and feel really lucky. Highlights, of our content creation career, but you never leave an interaction with them without this feeling that they are super committed to this game and making something that's going to be around for the long haul. You see it in how they approach the art, all original art. You see it in how they interact with game stores, with their plans for the future, with just their passion for the material. We do see a lot of card games come and go, and we've all seen our share of them. It was big surge in the 90s, and then we had some, it was quiet for a while, and now we have this big surge again. But Ravensburger is a 140-year-old company who is taking their first dive into this, and there's a reason they've never done it before. They're not into quick cash grabs. They're into making quality products, and they took their time. They did their research. They hired the right people, and they are doing everything right to make this a great game. Last thing else, the last time we met them, I interacted a little bit with their head of global. I won't say who. I interacted with an individual who said, man, I would love to be beating Magic one day. And it was not that, but that's where his head's at. He knows it's a long shot, but the fact that he's even in his head saying, one day I would like to compete with this, big game. That's the mentality they're bringing to this.
Well, and they embrace that mentality as well of community building as well. You see it in a lot of the materials that they're putting out. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about organized play later and how they're approaching that. But what I do love as well, when we did have a chance to meet them up in Seattle, we got to meet a lot of the playtesters as well. And what was so cool is so many of them used to hang out at this LGS in Tacoma, Washington. They were a group that would get together and play, and they got linked up with Ravensburger. They knew some folks there, and that's for them a lot of how their journey started with Ravensburger and becoming these playtesters. So these are people who they're gamers and they love that atmosphere. So you just can tell their heart's in the right spot.
Yeah.
That's fair. Awesome. That sounds wonderful. You instantly made me jealous. So thanks for that. It's really cool though. Yeah, Gen Con. We're definitely excited. We're looking forward to it. There's no doubt about it. But yeah, that's really cool to hear. It's also not shocking to hear. I listened. I believe it was you that may have posted the unlisted version of the expo. I think that was you that posted that, right? So I listened to that whole thing, and even just listening firsthand and hearing, the way he had viewed and the way he was answering questions, which also made me laugh a whole bunch. He's just no future things whatsoever, and people kept asking, guys, he said I'm not going to answer them.
You gotta try.
That's fair.
He's a funny guy, Ryan Miller.
But it was really cool to hear it, and it's exciting that you're bringing that already. It's nope, you guys you were confident before you even were in the room. Now that you were in the room, you're oh, this is just knocking it out of the park, which is really exciting for me to hear, because I definitely, we've interacted with designers and game creators before in the past with some of the games that we played, and we've experienced that same level of excitement. So to hear it again already, it definitely, it's good for everybody in the room to know that listen, we're getting involved with something that they truly believe in, to the point where, you said, they're ready to compete with the biggest of the biggest within the industry, which is really awesome.
Yeah, and to watch Steve like teach people how to play the game at Gamma, like when you watch that footage from the game nights, it's like watching a 15-year-old kid like teach his friends how to play the game. Like he's just truly that passionate about it. It's so incredible. Just how he just oozes this love for the game.
Yeah. I mean, and let's be honest, like you gotta love it, right? You know, like it's some people definitely design out of like the aspect of they're good at doing it, but like to me, for like you gotta love what you're doing, you know, and that's with just about everything. But like for this type of experience that you're creating and you're honestly delivering to probably more people than he even imagined when he started, you gotta love it. So it's really cool to hear that. But let's get into a little bit about Gen Con, right? We'll start and we'll talk about organized play here. So we have organized play, and we have, but first you suggested we wanted to talk about supporting your local game stores. You've already hinted at a few that you've played, you know, you've interacted with in the past, but if we really do get into the importance of local game stores, you know, it starts at the very bottom, right? Like that's where you need to succeed there to understand how to succeed everywhere else, to give everyone the impression that you can succeed everywhere else. So, you know, for you guys and your community, you know, what have you done so far to kind of start up that Lorcana community within your local game stores, if you have made that effort yet?
Oh, I mean, we've done our best. You know, we're lucky in Austin here. We have a pretty robust network of game stores. Some of them lean more into TCG, some of them don't. But everyone that we've talked to is ordering Lorcana, is excited about Lorcana. Unfortunately, most of them are hesitant to talk about events yet, to advertise, because they still don't have their allocations.
Right.
And so they're nervous about leaning in too heavily and then only getting a few boxes. So you know, we're getting ready to the point where they'll be ready to talk about events. There's been a couple, we won't name names, but there's a couple who have asked us in the near future to come in and do some demos and some how to plays. But it's something we're definitely looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, living in a larger city, I'm sure Stephanie, who I see on it, can sympathize with us living in the Seattle area. Like we do have an opportunity to have several game stores in our community, all of which who have kind of their own community and their own niche. Like, you know, one store is really board game focused, one's really TCG focused, one's really tabletop game focused. And so it is really great to see that across all of them, they've heard of Lorcana, they're excited about it. And yeah, we're just really jazzed to start like actually partnering with them once we start kind of figuring out what allocations look like, and supporting them in their efforts to bring people into their stores. We love our LGSs down here.
And admittedly, we've focused a lot on building our online community as well and trying to bring people into the game who may not have an LGS around them. What suggestions do you all have? What more can we do for our local game stores right off the bat?
I mean, it sounds like you're doing just as much as we are, to be honest. You know, like I have reached out to like, it's funny because Philadelphia is, you know, it's a big city, but ironically, it's not a big local game store city. You know, honestly, even like within the actual like zip code city of Philadelphia, there's only like 4, maybe 5 game stores in the entire city. And, you know, like 2 of them are located like in downtown, like Philadelphia, which is definitely a hassle for most people to get into. And I have friends that do play there, and they have reached out for me and kind of got an understanding of what maybe they're doing. But for us, it's actually the greater Philadelphia area that has a better chance, because like we've always had a better established relationship with those as well. Because Scott lives in like a little bit greater Philadelphia than I am. I'm still technically in Philadelphia, but I'm closer to the outskirts of it. But we're fortunate to have a store called Top Deck Games, which is that's their gaming location, but they're known online as Card Kingdom, which is a pretty big distributor for Magic the Gathering and things like that. And they have this gigantic store. I mean, like they just recently moved last year, and it is massive. Like it can hold up to like, I think 800 person tournaments or something like that. So we're definitely very excited to get into that system. They're very excited about Lorcana. They were also at the Gaming Expo. I believe they were in the same room and interview that you guys were in. So we're definitely excited to get a part of those things. And I did everything I possibly could to reach out to everybody, and I sent them all the information like, hey, this is how you get your tournament kits. This is how you get set up. And I heard a lot of the same stuff where it's like, well, I don't know if I'm going to get product, so I don't know if I'm going to apply for my store kit. And I'm just like, well, what if you get product and then you don't have a store kit? Like, why not just apply for both? Like, you know, like what's the worst that can happen here? You get a store kit and then like 3 weeks later you get product. Like, you don't need it on day one. And I tried my best to convince as many people as possible. And don't get me wrong, I understand hesitancy. I understand it's a gigantic commitment for the store to try and build a new community. But it's really just trying to, you know, get across that this is not a run of the, like, you know, one of these games that are just going to blow over in 10 days. Like, it's not like they've already told you that, like, hey, we're here for 2.5 years. So it's like, knowing that we're already here for 2.5 years, it's like they've already committed to this. So this isn't like some 6-month commitment that your local game store has to make. So I think that's the biggest important thing. Scott, do you have anything to add to that?
The only advice I can give, though, is don't be afraid to travel a little bit. Like, I mean, as stores start, so this is probably a few months out, like, past release, but I think once it starts up, there will be, I'm not saying you go play in a different store every night. Trust me, like, weeknights are tougher enough as it is. But if stores within the area that you're willing to travel to are having big nights or big events on the weekends or something like that, like, don't be afraid to, like, go to different ones all the time. And like, don't in our area, like, you know, some just be too tribalism among what they're doing, and just don't be afraid to, like, you know, stretch your legs a little bit and go out different, like, you know, we've gone all the way out to, like, Harrisburg to play, like
2.5 hour drive commute.
Just it was like, you know, trying to show our support for the greater area that's out there. So I would say, like, as those things start to pop up, just try to support them as best as possible. Because some stores will, like, they gear up to just do one big thing, and then, like, if that fails, like, oh, I'm not going to do it again. So, like, we just try to, whenever we see the stores, try to support them as best as possible, especially on the weekends. So
I do want to quickly shout out the chat today has been awesome. You guys are you're really honing in, and I'm sorry that we're not interacting with you enough, but I'm very, very supportive. Thank you guys for interacting with us. We'll get to you at the end for sure.
Speaking of the chat, just you do have a who. Speaking of community, you can see this game is already bringing people together. You have a who's who of Lorcana content creators in here.
It's fun. It's fun. I mean, like, this is
ready, set, draw.
Yeah, ready, set, draw. We got
Knive from Knive in your corner. You got cabled from Alight into Illumineers. Mentioned Knive, Uncommon Cardboard with Lebar. I mean, these are
showing them all
the
off.
Community already.
Showing them all off. Thank you guys for showing up tonight and hanging out with us. So let's talk about the past the local and these scaling events like Gen Con. And recently we found out, I think it was either beginning of last week or I think it was the beginning of last week, about Miami Con. So, like, there's these events that, like, we're already super excited about. I mean, at Gen Con, we knew that Ravensburg was going to be at Gen Con, but we had no idea there were going to be events at Gen Con. So it was really cool to see that happen. I understand there's a bunch of controversy around all of it from start to finish, but nonetheless, we're having events at Gen Con, so that's exciting in itself. And then with Miami Con coming in a couple, like I said, like almost like a week or so after the Gen Con announcements, they came in and said, nope, we're committed to this. We're doing this also. We know that PPG, which is Pro Play Games, they're ironically based in Miami, Florida also, which is why when we heard about Miami Con, we're just like, oh, that maybe that's PPG, but it's not PPG. So it was like, oh, okay, never mind. This is something entirely different. Awesome. That's just another person doing this. So, you know, are you guys excited to travel to these, you know, quote, destination events, and just like we are right now, exploring the community a bit more and all those things? Like, what are you guys excited for about the higher competitive scene of the game?
There's so much loaded into that question.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No. There's so many things I want to talk about.
All right.
I want to start, if I could, though, with Miami.
Okay.
And we do want to talk about Gen Con and the higher competitive stuff. For those who didn't see the news this week, Miami has been leaning into Lorcana hard a lot longer than anybody realizes. The owner of the convention actually picked up and moved the entire convention by 5 months this year, so that he could put it after Lorcana's release date at a time where he
Wow.
thought most people would have product.
Dude,
He's had a tournament lined up for a while, and there are some other surprise announcements in the Lorcana realm coming in the near future, which we can't talk about yet.
it's okay.
But we're very excited for that event, and we are super excited to travel. And I think it's going to be I think it will be like the first big Lorcana-oriented convention after release. That's not Gen Con.
Yeah.
Well,
so we're
Gen Con-
super excited about
Gen
that.
Con's still before release, so
That is
doesn't
true.
count.
Technically,
That
yes.
is true.
It doesn't count.
Release-ish, soft release. Kind
Yeah,
of.
yeah. I mean, it basically, like, by the end of that weekend, we'll know every card in the set.
Yeah, I
if
was
it's
about to
not
say,
spoiled
it
already.
basically
Yeah.
is release.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's going to be enough booster packs open. We'll know the whole set for sure.
Yeah.
Right. And it'll be a neat test to see, in the immediate aftermath of the game, coming out, what kind of a draw Lorcana will be. And whether or not people show up, to that convention and, mostly for Magic or Pokemon, or whether Lorcana does have a huge dedicated fan base there who's willing to travel.
Are you talking about Miami?
Miami, I'm sorry.
Miami.
Not
Yeah,
Gen
I
Con.
agree.
I was like,
Miami.
going back.
Because and from what I've seen, it was interesting. As soon as they announced it, you saw this flood of Lorcana content creators jump on board and say they were excited to go. So
Yeah.
I think it bodes well. And we are excited about that.
Yeah,
event.
we're super jazzed. We need to get our hotel room booked.
That's a good point.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Now I said it, like, now all of y'all are gonna
Right.
jump
Well,
on
we
right
go.
after this. and I'm not
All
gonna-
10 of us are like, shit, we got to book that.
Everybody's right now trying to get in.
Leave one for us.
As
Yeah.
far as competitive events go, though, what is neat about Miami too is they announced that right on the heels of the Ravensburger team saying in an event in France that they're not going to do first party high level competitive events for about a year. And there was an interesting, I'm sure you all saw it. There was an interesting moment in the Lorcana community where people were a little disappointed because they were looking for, there's a lot of people who enjoy the competitive scene. And then shortly afterwards, we realized after Miami made this announcement, and then Ravensburger came in and clarified a little later that what they're talking about is just, maybe nationals or some high level, organized event that they're gonna allow the community to build up first before they do that. So what was great about Miami is it made us realize that we are going to see competitive events. They may be third party, they may be run by Star City Games or other companies,
Yep.
but there will be plenty of space for competitive play.
But I have to take a moment
Near
because I'm going to speak this into reality. At one day, Ravensburger is going to host a national event at ESPN World of Sports at Disney World, and it's going to be amazing. That is, I have to say it enough to
Well,
speak it into the universe, put those vibes out there, and then hopefully one day I'll
As great as that sound, I hope it doesn't happen because that means I got to bring my whole family to Disney World in the middle of whenever, and that's just a bad option. All right, I can't focus on high level competitive with my whole family there. It doesn't work.
That's
Yeah,
actually
that's
where
right.
Magic used to have its nationals back.
Yeah.
Oh,
Magic
see,
Nationals
look.
used to be
I should know that. I
ESPN's
don't know.
Wide World of Sports. So
Fascinating.
it's
It
a
reminds
cool
me
place.
of,
It's a cool place to play.
It reminds me of the wrestling game Raw Deal, that when you won Raw Deal, you got tickets to WrestleMania. That's kind of what it's like, kind of the same thing. It's like, oh, well, if you win, maybe you get tickets to Disney World. This sounds awesome.
Well, or they could have a collab with Disney, and all the princesses could be at.
Are they our
the-
judges? Are the
Yeah,
are they the
there you
judges?
go.
There we go.
It'd be awesome. It'd be awesome. One day. Pipe dream. Okay, sorry.
I love it.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it. That's great. Oh, all right. So what do we have next here? Oh, that's right. We have our favorite characters, right? So we're gonna let Scott go first, right? Because Scott probably didn't even think about this at all, even though I sent it to him. So obviously, it could be a character, it could be an item, it could be an action or a song in theory. But let's talk about something that's has not yet been released or revealed for Chapter 1 or even further chapters, etc., that you would love to see within Chapter 1. And if you so dare, would you give us what the card may do? Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
I think Sebastian is the card I'm looking forward to.
That's a good one.
Because he was my favorite part of Little Marais for a long time. So I about it one time in a soon to be released video, but I'm hoping what he does is he's like a small little character that can sing songs as soon as he comes into play. So he has like Rush for singing songs. So I'd like to see that.
Ooh,
That would be
nice.
cool. I think that'd be really cool.
I like that idea.
All right, we'll go. We're gonna go to Aaron. All right, that's what we're gonna do. So go ahead. Let
Okay.
us know.
So I originally was going to talk about a character, but then I didn't realize I could do a song too.
Oh, there
so
you
my
go.
Character again.
I tell you what, you can totally do both. It's fine.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to. So thank you for giving me the invitation to do so. So my character, because again, this is like my soapbox that I'm speaking into existence, is Madam Mim. If y'all have we love you if you stuck with us from the beginning, but that has been from the beginning. Like, I really want Madam Mim in the game. I love her so much. I think she would be an awesome shift character because there are just so many options there. And so, yeah, Madam Mim.
I like it.
Gonna happen. And we've started to see Sword in the Stone stuff. So
that's true.
Possibly possible. For a song, Liam and I actually made a list. We're both looking down at our list, and I might steal what he was going to say.
I love it.
But the
I
song
wrote a list
that
too.
Would be super cool is Once Upon a Dream. And you would get to tutor for a prince. Of type in your
that. I like that.
You do a princess too, because it's technically a duet, and he's singing about.
It is technically a duet. Yeah, a tutor for a prince or a princess. Yeah, there you go. So that's a song that I think would be super cool.
Even though we hope tutors aren't in the game, it'd be.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Any smart player does not want to tutor in the game. Because
that's true. But
it's
yes.
Save that for like set 12. Like, let's just get well.
But from a flavor perspective, it's so good.
Yeah.
It's perfect. I love it. But yeah, don't do that. Let's stay away from it.
Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna steal your place, Liam. I'm gonna butt in line. All right. So, anyone that has known me, right? What's the name of this podcast? It's the Into the Unknown podcast. I'm a huge Frozen fan, and I need to see me some Anna. She has to exist in the game, and I think I have a bit of an ability for her. I actually want her to have a bodyguard ability, because she is so much about the caring of like her family and her friends, and even like the companions and things like that, that I think that she could actually very well fit as a bodyguard-esque character, even if like it is something silly, like, oh, if you have Elsa in play, she has bodyguard or something like that. I just think it'd be really cool, because you just think of this little itty bitty girl, little bitty itty bitty princess that has bodyguard, and it just makes me giggle to really think about that. So that's my take into what I'm trying to wish into existence.
I like that a lot. I like to flavor it. I think it's true to her, like the spirit of her character. I think you nailed it. And initially you think that Kristoff would take that role, but I don't think so. I think Anna is the lead in that in that relationship. And yeah, I love it.
Go ahead, Liam. Take it home for us.
Man, well, so I was gonna do Kronk as a bodyguard, but we're gonna get rid of that.
He just shoots off the whole list.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do Rapunzel. I'm not gonna do Tafiti.
Stop giving away our list.
I love it.
We're not gonna have any more material.
No, if I could do so for character, I'm gonna go with Chip and Dale. I know. Well, they're great. They're classic Disney. They're delightful. The card art would be wonderful. I don't have a specific ability for them. What I think though is that they work better as a pair. Right. So I don't think they're one card. I think they're two cards, and I think to get individually they might be like 2 power, but when they both get into play, perhaps they each augment each other's power, so they're stronger together.
I could totally see that.
And so I think they have that kind of mechanic. If I could do a song too, just because I love Heffalumps and Woozles. I love it because I love the line, they gobble up the things you prize. And I think Heffalumps and Woozles would be the first time you see an item steal mechanic in the game. So it allows you to take an opponent's item. Like Heffalumps love to steal who's honey.
That's very fair. It's very fair. Yeah, I think it's crazy. I really would. What do you guys think? Like, so where we have 77, 78 cards or something like that. So there's like 130-ish more to go or something around that area. How many songs do you think there will actually be as in compared to just normal actions? Because like we already have like 5 or 6 already. So I'm actually curious like how many songs will actually get like in chapter 1 or even like per chapter as an example, because they're obviously so unique to the action concept of the game. So it's like you really don't want to oversaturate it, but it's crazy to think when they're like, man, there's like, I don't know, 300, 400 Disney songs that you can attach yourself to. So
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, I agree. I think that's true. I think they probably released a lot of songs earlier. I mean, I'm thinking about like huge gaps. Like there are not a ton of items in Sapphire, and yet there are 2 Sapphire characters that need items.
Yep.
So like, I think we're going to see a lot of items come out in Sapphire so that you can actually use Belle.
Well, there's a lot of people out there that hope you're right.
Yeah.
On the song front, I think we may see more songs than we would normally think. I think with songs like subset actions. I'm sorry, go ahead.
So like you think there's a better chance that there's actually more songs than normal actions?
I think it'll be close. And the reason is it's something called variance. And when, you know, as experienced TCG designers, you know, Steve and Ryan are thinking about this a lot. You know, when you have a card, you know, in your hand, having one thing you can do with that card, like one specific action, one option, is boring and leads to, you know, little strategy. But being able to use that card in a variety of different ways, either I can ink it, I can play it, is just an example, makes for a deeper strategic game. And so I think the more songs you have, the more choices and options it gives you. You can now use your character. Do I use this character to sing? Do I use this character to quest? Do I use this character to challenge? And it allows for some deeper strategy. So songs kind of give you this, they add a little bit of variance to the game. And I think that they're going to lean on that a little bit to add that complexity for experienced players. That's might be a hot take. I don't know. Chat will know if
I call.
I think it's like a really interesting thought because they are just so different. And like if that is like a trademark to the game, then maybe that is a direction they go, right? But it's so hard to say this early on because like the natural instinct in me is thinking like, oh well, they're like really powerful actions, so we probably don't want to oversaturate the game with them. But if the game is just meant to have these over powerful actions, then like, well, then hey, maybe there'll be 30 of them. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, who knows? But really interesting thought. I don't know. It's something I've been considering more and more as like what really will be the breakdown of like items and characters and things like that. And the songs are just so different because since there are 2 versions of actions already announced, already spoiled, like it's like, all right, well, like I really do wonder. So, but yeah, I think that's really cool. Anything to add there, Scott?
No.
Okay, fair enough. Thanks, Scott. I'm just kidding. All right, so we're going to go into the closing thoughts for this one, and we're going to break it up. So Scott had a really interesting question that he wanted to ask, and honestly, for those of you that are in the chat right now, I wouldn't mind, you know, answering this for you as well, and I'll spotlight it. How do you guys intend to collect Disney Lorcana? So, like, and I guess Scott, I'll let you explain a little bit further.
Yeah, I mean, I already saying like I'm gonna buy 1 of each card. I want 4 of each card, obviously, for the hardcore gamer types, and then other people are like, well, I want 4 of every foil. I mean, like, you know, it's gonna be super crazy. So I was just curious if you guys have thought about how much you want to collect and how you want to collect Lorcana.
I think we're gonna have 2 very different answers for this, but I'll let the collector in the family go first. No, you go first because you probably have a better strategy than I do.
Well, no, I am a collector. I love the foils. I love the cold foil treatments. So we love art, and for anybody who's watched our channels, we obsess over the art in these cards. And one of the things I love about the foils in this game is that I think I'm willing to bet that they were thinking about the card foiling when they were designing the art for the card. So when you see the foils, it really augments the art, and you see the card in some instances in maybe the way the card was meant to be seen, the way the art was meant to be seen. And Aurora is a good example of this, and there's some others. So I'm gonna have a really hard time not trying to collect 1 of every foil. That's what I want. And then of course on the content creator side, we're gonna need play sets to do play testing and on-camera events. But if it were just me on my own, like 1 of every foil is where I want to be.
Yeah, I think I'm good with that. I don't really have to strategize about collecting because my husband does it for me. No, I am not a huge collector, and so I'm sure I'm going to approach this in a similar way to 10-year-old me approached Pokemon, which is like, is it cute? Do I like that? I would like one of those, please. And then of course I'll have like my play deck that is I like use to actually play with. But for like having cards in a binder, yeah, I mean, I might have just totally lost like street cred. But yeah, I think for me, it's probably going to be like, do I like this piece of art? And do I want to be able to enjoy this piece of art in person? So, you know, maybe cold foil. And then if there's like an art that isn't foiled, but is just like part of your world or something like that, that I just absolutely love. Like, it's like, okay, then let's make sure we have a part of your world so that we can enjoy that in person.
Yeah, I think it's cool. I think when you start considering that it is all original art, it seems like the easiest thing to give away is prizes, right? Like you just look at it, you're like, whoops, sorry guys. You just look at it and you're like, well, I could totally see them just literally giving away this Aurora, you know, design here. Maybe we can go to it. I knew you guys did a wonderful breakdown on this art. Actually, if anyone hasn't seen it, you should check it out. But the art is, since it's all original, it really is incredible. It like coming from other games and seeing what other people have done, and even like games that were also being announced, kind of like along with this one. This art in this game is phenomenal, which is only yet but another draw to it. It's another layer of collection to all the collectors of Disney out there, because this is all, it's not, you know, it's all original, which means outside of card gamers, players are going to want or not players, but collectors are going to want these things. They're going to want them in the cold foils, which, by the way, I'm super jealous that you guys like got to hold them, right? Like, didn't you guys hold them at Expo?
Well, I saw them up close. I didn't get to touch them, but I was so close.
So like, I didn't play Flesh and Blood, but I understand that they're the same type of foils as Flesh and Blood. And those are, you know, from everyone that I know that plays, that like they love those foils. So I'm definitely excited to see them in person. Like the videos, obviously, they never do it justice. It's the same. A picture never does it justice. You know, you can't go and look at the Grand Canyon and then send a picture to your friend like, look, it's not the same. So I'm excited for those things for sure. As a collector myself, I mean, I'm a high competitive player, so I need to have a playset of everything, and that's pretty much it. If there is a world where multiplayer, which by the way, I haven't talked about this at all yet, but I love the concept of multiplayer in this game, because my biggest pet peeve with like Commander is that people lose early and then sit there and do nothing. And in this, that doesn't exist. It's just like everyone is playing until someone actually wins, rather than people are losing along the way. So like, I'm very excited for multiplayer in that aspect, because it's just in a completely entirely different direction than like anything else, which I think is really cool. If that gets like actual rules, or they change, they decide that something's different, like a Highlander S format or whatever, then yeah, I'll need a foil of every one of those cards, and there won't really be a debate. But that's future Dan's problem. And then of course,
fantastic.
Of course, the biggest collector in the room, realistically, is Scott, because that's a whole other mountain of another day to talk about, which we don't need to get into right now. So we had some answers here. I'm gonna go back in here. So we have shout out to Ohana Lorcana. I love your name, by the way. I saw it the other day. I think it was like sometime last week. It came across on Twitter, and I was like, that is phenomenal.
It means family.
Yeah. Hey, there's a bit of a spoiler for later on. I'm sharing my collection with wife and kids. We're going to vacuum up everything we can. I love it. And then where else? I saw a couple others here. I got to scroll up. There was a lot. You guys have been chatting like crazy. Ready, set, y'all. Play set of every card. Foils of each. Our favorite to leave in the binder. I can respect that. And then we have Nerve and Nerd. Play set of every card, so I can have access to every play set. Yep, can't hate. I do want to go back to this one real quick, because we missed it earlier. But looking for Genie that lets you make 3 wishes, pay some lore to play 3 cards from the top of your deck or your Inkwell exerted. I think that's a really cool, interesting take on what Genie could do. It sounds really powerful, but that's okay, right? We all hope and dream. Let's be honest, right? We're making wishes; they better be good.
Black Lotus was a card at one point; it was legal.
We don't want that, man. We talked about not wanting tutors. You want a Black Lotus? Come on, dude.
Ban it later.
Get out of here. But yeah. And then the last one is I want a master set and a play set of playable cards. That seems very fair. So this was the other question that I added. We'll go back to it real quick. I added how often do you think you will travel to events? I know you guys are going to Gen Con also, right?
Liam is going to
Okay, Liam is going to Gen Con. So Liam's going to Gen Con. We're all very likely also going to Miami. So we're clearly committed. You guys have already been to stuff, which is great. So how often do you think you're going to try and hit everything you possibly can along the way?
I mean, as much as we can. Just going back, and we've hit this, multiple times already, but the community that's been built up around this game already is just wonderful. And, I think you're seeing that with Miami. A lot of us now, a lot of our content creators, we're all friends and we interact regularly. So even in the absence of it being a Lorcana event, if I find out that Nive or Stephanie, are traveling to an event, I'm going to have a hard time not wanting to go myself, because the Lorcana community is all great people. And I just want to hang out with them. So, I mean, I think we're going to go as much as we can, given the limits of our day jobs. But we hope to experience Lorcana, nationally as much as possible.
Yeah, for me, Transformers, it's basically the last game that we came from at a high competitive standpoint. They only had one overseas event, and honestly, Scott and I were very close to going to it, and then we decided not to, and we're like, oh, we'll just get the next one. There wasn't a next one. So for me, that was really upsetting, because I've always wanted to travel. I've always wanted to go overseas. I always wanted to do these things. When World of Warcraft at its prime was doing those things, I was crazy young. I didn't have money to do any of that stuff, so I just didn't do any of them. Now, obviously, much different in part of Lifetime. I'm very excited to travel to as much as possible, especially anything that's overseas that we can really get attached to. I think it'll be really fun. I'm a traveler by heart, so I'm very much looking forward to having that destination to go to and see more than just Disney Lorcana, and kind of experience the world a bit. Nationally in the North America, I don't think there'll be anything that's a high level competitive event. You'll catch me at. I'll absolutely be there. And Scott, if not one of us, probably both of us will likely be at all of those things. But Scott, is anything particularly excited? Obviously, if Disney World comes back around, I know you'll definitely go.
Yeah, as long as I'm allowed to go to as much as I can, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's fair. All right,
but the international stuff is probably going to happen.
Yeah, I'm super excited. I really want to hit some any of these international things. Is why I would be the first one that gets announced. I'm telling you right now, I'm already going. I don't care where it's at. I'm going. All right, so I wanted to close on the Disney quote of the week, and you didn't even know, but you spoiled it already, and that's okay. It's okay. So we're gonna talk about it. We're gonna get into it, and it is Lilo and Stitch. Ohana means family, and family means, oh no, I can't read it. I want to make sure I don't mess it up, guys. We'll go this way. Ohana means family.
Nice.
No one gets left behind or forgotten. And I wanted to start that because even I didn't know what to expect when we were going to go live today, but it was really cool to see all of the content creators in this room with us and really just almost solidify this early going of the community and family, and how we're all really excited for this game, which is great because this is we are kind of the founding blocks of the community moving forward. And because obviously the game's not even out yet and we're so goddamn excited about it, but the moment Gen Con hits, 2 weeks after that, 4 weeks after that, and all these cards start coming out, the community is going to grow tenfold at that point, because it will be real in quotation marks. And we'll be able to have cards in hands and things like that. And I think it's important that it is this community building and this wonderful interaction and collaborations with everyone around, because we all want to build each other up. We all want this game to succeed, and we all want it to have fun and succeed together. I can't wait to get to Gen Con and shake hands. I'm a hugger, just so you guys know already, but if you're not into that, that's okay. But so don't mind me. If you want to hug me, I'm going for it, but handshakes are cool too. Fist bumps, it's fine. But yeah, I'm just super excited about the game, and I wanted to make sure we kicked off with a little Ohana means family.
Love it. Love it. Lorcana means family.
Nobody lives up.
Or forgotten.
There you go. There you go. Of course, I also had to add on. There had to be a reason why I put a Stitch face on the thumbnail of this. So I had a full circle at some way, guys. So let's be real.
There you go.
But of course, seriously, thank you guys so much for coming out. It does mean a bunch of us. It means a ton to me and Scott that you guys, you reached out to begin with, and we were able to make this work together. And for anyone that is watching this later on that might not know, where can they find you guys?
Spoiler alert. YouTube is our primary platform. We're at Illumiteers. We're also on Twitter, Instagram, at Illumiteers on both places. We'd love to hear from you. Anybody watching. Appreciate you stopping by.
And it will be there. It'll be in the description of the podcast as well, of course. And lastly, Scott, anything left to say before we wrap this one up, before we land the plane?
No, I really appreciate you guys coming out. It was great to hear your point of views. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having us. We were so appreciative.
Thank you.
Yeah, delightful. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you guys again. Thank you for everyone in chat tonight. You guys were awesome. Lots of great perspectives and everything like that. That is going to be the end of this episode of the podcast. Be looking for us, of course, as weekly. If you have tuned in, you weren't subscribed already, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next video. See ya.